All right, welcome back to school. It is Monday. A lot of you guys, as we discussed last week, are still not completely sold on what we're doing, so let me go back and explain it yet again what we're doing. This is sort of a modification of a style of teaching called a flipped classroom. Now, this is a type of teaching that Google is investing millions and millions of dollars into, as are websites like Khan Academy, the Crash Course people, all of these things, because it is proving to be the most effective way to reach all students. It might not be the most effective way to reach everybody. Like, you might learn a different way, but it is the most effective as far as reaching most people. The theory behind a flipped classroom is that normally what happens in a classroom is you sit and the teacher teaches and it goes the same speed for everybody. Some people fall behind, some people are bored, some people are thinking about other things, and then they maybe get a little bit of time to start their homework in class, but then the bell rings and they leave, and then they go home and they may or may not remember what they learned that day. So a flipped classroom, what it really is you watch the videos of the lecture at home and take notes, and you can pause it as many times as you want, and then you go to school to work on what would essentially be the homework. And that's typically how it works for a math class, where math is a lot of you learn a concept, you do problems about it. So in an English classroom, it's a little bit different, since English requires a lot of interacting and reading and understanding, especially when you're doing Shakespeare and when Shakespeare's language is really hard. So we're doing a modified version of that. So we are doing the videos and the work in class, which is part of why we have the block system at school, so we can have time to do both the lecture part of the lesson and the work part of the lesson. That is why we do block schedule. So another reason why we are doing this is because people like to trickle into the classroom 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes late. And so everybody comes at different times, and as soon as they come in, they want me to start over and reteach the lesson. So this way, everybody can go at their own speed regardless of what time they get to school. So to get started, we are going to continue on with our grammar worksheets. We have done subject complements, which, as you may recall, are when we are dealing with a linking verb. We are going to be doing something incredibly similar, only these are going to be only for sentences with action verbs. So complements are for linking verbs. Objects, which is what we're going to do now, are for action verbs. So there's the direct object and the indirect object. I'm actually going to link you to a couple of videos that I found online in previous years that I like to use to teach it. So look in the description for links for that. Okay, finished with grammar. We're only doing page 43 today. So if you're finished with that, I can come around and collect it. I'll be around helping. Remember that anytime you can come, anytime we're doing these videos, you can raise your hand and ask for help. Okay, so we are going to review Julius Caesar Act 1, and you're going to take notes on some important concepts. I am going to write down a few key words. I want you to write down more than that. I want you to explain what the key words are all about, why they're important, why they are key words. So, to review, something that's really important in this play is to remember how Romans felt about politics. Politics is, in fact, the theme of what I'm going to be talking about today, especially ancient Roman politics. So some things to remember: that Rome was a democracy, which means that everybody got to vote on all the important things, including laws, who ruled them, things like that. And so it was really important to them that they were not citizens of a king, but in fact they were citizens. Citizenship was really important to them. They felt very important and proud of the fact that they were citizens, not slaves, not subjects. So it's really important in this play to remember that, because a lot of what happens is the politicians try to sway popular opinion because they were not kings. They couldn't do whatever they want. So they had to appeal to the people and try to persuade them to believe what they believed in order to get power. You couldn't just do whatever you wanted. So that is sort of what happens today in politics in a democracy. There were a few things that happened that were really important. So Antony offers Caesar the crown 3 times. Antony crown. So Antony offers Caesar the crown 3 times, and Caesar refuses all 3 times. And we don't see this happen. We see this story being related, and Brutus is hearing it. And it's important that Brutus is hearing it because Brutus is hearing multiple sides of the issue. He's trying to figure out if he should betray his friend Caesar or not. So hearing this thing where they're saying he's taking too much power, but he's denying the crown when it's being offered to him, it shows why Brutus is so conflicted about it. It also shows how much Antony adores Caesar. Here he is, this young athlete who Caesar wants him to touch his wife because while he's running, because in this race it was said to be good luck if a runner touches a barren woman or a woman who is unable to conceive a child, she will suddenly be able to. And that is sort of also a little bit of showing how Caesar isn't perfect if he is unable to produce a child. So that's sort of important. But then after that, we hear that he falls over and starts shaking on the ground, and he has what we today call epilepsy, but which back then they called the falling sickness because they didn't have any other word for it. So epilepsy is when you have seizures. So normally when you see a leader faint and start having convulsions and twitching on the ground, that might be a sign that they aren't fit to be a leader. But remember, popular opinion was what was really important and is really important, and it didn't seem to affect the public's opinion of Caesar at all, which is an important thing to realize, that these people who are trying to plot against Caesar think they can get public opinion on their side, but here they are. First they were cheering for Pompey before the book starts, and then when Caesar defeated Pompey, they're all like, yay, Caesar, and the public is so easily swayed, and they can change their minds really easily, except they see him fall over and start having epileptic fits, and they don't seem to care. So, maybe the populace isn't as easily swayed as they think. And so Casca, if we go back to our chart of characters here, so we've got Casca. This guy comes up with the plan. Brutus still isn't swayed. In fact, he heard about Mark Antony, and Brutus was like, that sounds not so bad to me. And so Casca, all left alone on stage after that, it's like, I have a plan. I'm going to forge a whole bunch of letters from Roman citizens saying they want Caesar dead. And that'll sway him because more than being Caesar's friend, he is a good Roman. And Romans care about being a good citizen, and the leaders care about being good leaders to their citizens. So if the citizens say they want Caesar dead, Brutus will do it. And that's the kind of guy Brutus is. He wants to do good all the time. He wants to do the best that he can. So this also, coming up on that last question you guys had to, last section of questions you guys had to answer for Act 1, Scene 3, the unnatural events that they were all seeing, that they were calling them portents of danger, which is signs that bad things were to come, like the guy whose hands were on fire, yet they weren't burning up. So that they were all saying that's a sign of this and a sign of that. And that brings up the idea of one of the main themes of the book, fate versus free will. So this idea is the fight between are our lives predetermined by the stars, or do we get to choose our own path? And we talked about that a little bit with the Fault in Our Stars journal. So there's this idea when you have omens or signs of things to come, Are they announcements that this is absolutely going to come? Or are they warnings that this could come if things continue the way that you're going? And everybody is interpreting these things differently. So they're all basically misinterpreting it. And you don't really ever get a very clear answer if they were an announcement of things to come or if they were warning them against things to come. But either way, that's what was going on. So take a moment to finish up your notes here. If you need to rewind and go back and listen to a few of these things, go ahead and do that. But if you're ready to move on, then underneath your notes, I want you to think back to all the characteristics that you wrote down for a good leader and what those are. You did that in the first journal before we started. And I want you to think about all the characters in the play you've met so far and try to decide which of those characters you think, based on the character traits, would be the best leader, and explain your answer. And that's sort of going to be our journal for today. And before we move on, go ahead and finish that, and then we are going to start Act 2. So go ahead and do that. Once you're done, open it up, your packet, to page 21, where we have the Act 2 summary. You can read it yourself and skip what I'm going to say, or you can read it along with me. It's always important to read the summary, because that way after we read the summary, reading the play will make more sense. So read along with me or read it yourself. Act 2. Brutus is in his orchard, contemplating his friendship with Caesar and his fear that the leader will become a tyrant if crowned king. He concludes that since the ruler could become a despot, he should be killed. During his meditation, he is interrupted by Cassius and his fellow conspirators and agrees to join them in their plot against Caesar. Cassius proposes that they all swear to their resolution, but Brutus disagrees, arguing that their honorable motives require no such oath. Cassius also suggests that Mark Antony should be murdered along with Caesar. But again, Brutus intercedes, maintaining that Antony will not be a threat once Caesar is dead. After the meeting, Portia begs Brutus to explain the cause for his strange behavior, and he promises to tell her his secret. Meanwhile, Calpurnia, yes, it's spelled a little bit different here. Calpurnia has nightmares of Caesar's death and implores him not to go to the Senate that day. That's Calpurnia warning Caesar. Caesar resists her pleas, but her warning is confirmed by the augurers. Caesar relents and agrees to stay home. However, Decius Brutus, who arrives to escort him to the capital, offers a favorable interpretation of Calpurnia's nightmares and tells Caesar that the senators will ridicule him if he does not appear. Caesar changes his mind again and departs for the capital. As he is leaving, he is joined by Brutus and several of the conspirators, as well as by Antony. So, a lot of warnings happening for Caesar. So we're going to read Act 2, Scene 1 today. So you are going to finish pages 21 and the first question on the top of page 22. So read through those before you start. That way you know what to answer. I'll read them right now. Number 13. What is written in the letters that Lucius finds on Brutus's bed? Number 14. What reason does Brutus give for not swearing an oath of secrecy? 15. Cassius suggests that Antony should also be killed. Why does Brutus oppose this idea? And 16. How will Decius persuade Caesar to go to the capital? So those are the things you're going to be listening for. I will put the timestamp up on here to know where to start in the audiobook. Also, there will be a link to the audiobook in the description. So that is me signing off for the day. Remember to raise your hands if you have any questions along the way. I'm here. All right, have fun.